Good evening and welcome to the Drive at 5 on intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station. I'm your host, Roman. We have a great show planned for you today. Please don't forget to stay tuned to intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station for Warriors Talk with Rochelle at 6 p.m. Tonight, my guest is the founder and executive director of the Talented College Prep and Career Mentoring Organization, and he is the presumptive candidate for Alderman. Please give a drive at 5. Welcome to Kawali Kwaza.
Yes, sir. Dr. Kweli Kwaza.
Dr. Kweli Kwaza. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on the drive. So please
Thank you.
give intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station your background.
Well, let's see. I have a PhD in community psychology, so I've studied communities all over the world. I also have a master's degree from the University of Chicago, and my undergraduate degree is from Northern Illinois University. My background, I grew up on the west side of Chicago, been living here in the 21st Ward for 20 years, and worked with Alderman Brookins for 5 years. And you mentioned I have the mentoring program. I've been helping high school kids go to college for the last 40 years and have estimated about 3,500 students who have graduated from college, actually from NIU. And also have Club 21, 21st Century Block Club Network. So I work with block clubs around the city. In 2019, the last block club convention, I was the one that hosted that over at Simeon High School. And I'm also local school council. I have a couple community gardens in the community. And we do quite a few things. So we do the Juneteenth parade and event. Been doing that for the last 5 years, as well as the Pride, the Southside Pride event and parade as well, in Kwanzaa as well.
What is your platform for Alderman in the 21st Ward?
Well, you know, the first thing I think that needs to happen is there needs to be, we need to reduce this crime. There's this shooting, a lot of our children are being killed. So that's my first thing. And the way I want to do that, and I know a lot of folks talk about, ending the violence, but they don't actually tell you how. I'm going to tell you how. And the way I want to do it is with using drones. So a drone would be able to see the community like a beat cop. We'll be able to see the community, and if there's something suspected about to happening, you see some guys about to do something, we can drop the drone, let them see it, and they probably, if they have any sense, they probably won't commit the crime at that time. And so I want to, prevent crime as well as have a faster way to catch, folks who are committing the crime against us. So that's one thing. And so once, sort of like, if you go to the hospital for trauma, the first thing they have to do is to stabilize you. If you got a cut and you're bleeding, the first thing they got to do is stop the bleeding. And that's what we want to do with the drone, is to first stop the bleeding. Also, I'm looking at similar to the program that the mayor has, where they reimburse you for your Ring cameras. If we could do dash cams for the carjacking, so that we can catch folks a lot faster. Just so folks start thinking about, hey man, maybe I shouldn't do this in Chicago. Let me take this somewhere else. So those are some of the safety things that I have, as well as I want to tie in the Parent Responsibility Act as well, where parents may have to go through some training when their children are involved in different crimes. There's a whole slew of other things like helping with sidewalks. I found some grants for sidewalks through the transportation department, porches and roof for seniors, and home repair improvements, as well as knowing the 34th Ward that we inherited don't have a lot of grocery stores. So I want to make sure that we eliminate some of the food deserts as well. And so, also the other big thing is providing support for businesses. I like to say indigenous businesses, meaning that if you live in the community and you have a business in the community, that the city supports you with grants or tax write-off for a number of years so that so your business can grow and be stable. The only thing we're asking is that you hire people from the community, um, and also tax breaks for people who who work for the city and live in the city because the city requires you to live in the city. So those are a number of things.
As a community leader in your community, why now you want to run for alderman in the 21st ward?
I had been involved in community things for a long time, a number of years, and about 5, 6 years ago, Alderman Brookins had come to me and said, "Hey, look, I see you care about the community. People respect you in the community. I would love for you to take my place when I resign now." and and so I told him, I said, "Look, I don't know anything about city politics. I don't know how it works." But he said he would train me, and that's how I ended up working with him for 5 years, being trained by him, so that I can, be prepared to take his place and be the alderman. So I'm ready.
So that answers the other question, that you have opponents. So what separates you from your opponents and the incumbent?
I think the biggest thing that separates me from my opponents is that my opponents, you never heard of them. You never heard them until now. They haven't done anything in the community. I'm constantly working in the community, whether it be in the community gardens, whether it be starting a block clubs, whether it be putting on different programs in the community. And I've been doing it for years. I was, kind of born into this. When I was a kid, preschool, I remember the Black Panthers used to have the free breakfast program on the west side at the Archie Moore Gym. And I was involved in that program. And so ever since then, I've been involved in my community. And I've been trained to be the alderman. Plus, I've studied communities. I do a lot of research, look at data, and I study communities. And none of my opponents have done that.
Crime, as you put it, is a big issue in the Chicagoland area. Some are saying we are in a city of lawlessness. As alderman, how can you curb crime in the 21st ward? You mentioned drones. However, there have been talks about drones. There have been lawsuits about privacy rights of swooping down on businesses and invading people's privacy. What you say to that?
So the drones would not be used to invade folks' privacy. The only thing we want to look at is the same things that a beat cop would look at. And that's the outside in the public, in the community. So those are things that we would use the drones for, not to go into people's privacy or anything like that.
So what would you do to curb crime?
I would use the drones. And if folks know that they could be seen or could be followed, most people would, common sense, probably wouldn't commit that crime at that time. So I think that would curb some crime. Now, however, that's just the start. Now we know, there's a lot of shootings and stuff. But there are other communities that have more guns than our community. But you don't see you don't see the violence. So we know it's not guns that makes the community safe. We know the thing that makes community safe is good schools, good education, good jobs, good, even in the trades. We want to make
But
sure
there's
that,
some. I'm going to push back on you on that
yes,
one.
sir.
When you say good jobs, good education, there are communities out there that have the good jobs and good education, but still they have crime. What I'm getting at is, right now, let's say, for example, um, I'm going to use a pack of wolves or coyotes, for example. If
Okay.
they're used to eating a certain thing, and all of a sudden you want to introduce them to, let's say, jobs, they're so used to what they know. How can you, as alderman, transform the psyche of, well, I didn't have a job this long. I mean, we didn't have this long. I'm used to going outside the neighborhood for to the grocery store and spend my money. I don't have to be bothered with such and such or seeing such and such and such and such. You say?
So I will push back on your pushback that the communities that have good jobs and good education, they don't experience the violence like we do in our communities. They do not. Then the numbers show that. Uh, the numbers show that they don't. So I'm a firm believer in looking at the numbers and looking at the data that good jobs and good education does help. For example, I have estimated approximately 3,500 students who have graduated from college. I bet you not many of those students are going out here committing crime because they have value to themselves. That value has been added to them. And we have to, people need to feel valuable. And the way to do that is that they have to have, whether it be an education, whether it be the trades, whether it be this good job, I don't want to mess up. People need those things. And I have had, young men who were doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing, or selling things they shouldn't be selling. Now, they were making really good money doing those things, but they probably, most of them would rather make good money doing something that's a lot safer for them. Because with that lifestyle comes the police, comes the other guys. There's a lot of other things that come with that.
There is a war on children shooting children in Chicago streets, teens shooting children, and adults shooting children. Just this weekend alone, you had a total of 3 to 4 children. One was a 7-year old that got shot in the leg. The other one passed away. Children are now targets in the streets of Chicago. As alderman, in your background as a community leader, what kind, if any, legislation you can implement in preventing children as targets?
Well, I don't know if the children are necessarily target. I think black folks are target.
So why would
I
you think black
but
folks are targets if black folks are
because
shooting black folks?
when I look at when I look at the numbers of the people that's being killed, 80% are black folks. So that tells me that there's a larger problem going on. It doesn't take a rocket scientist or a PhD to figure out that there's a bigger problem going on in the black community and that black folks are being killed because of it. So I believe if black folks are not being targeted, we're not being targeted to fix our problems. And we have, a mayor and 50 aldermen sitting in City Hall, and like you said, children are being killed, and no one's talking about it. It's not even on the agenda. It needs to be on the agenda. There needs to be some kind of task force our children and our women are being gunned down out here.
Carjacking is up and stealing car parts are up as well. Some criminals are bold enough to carjack and steal car parts in broad daylight. There is a video going viral that happened on Washtenaw as somebody captured them in broad daylight, a carload of African American teens literally going underneath the car and stealing the car part. And they didn't care because they had masks on and they captured the license plates. They didn't care. And somebody said more than likely that car was carjacked.
So, yeah, yeah,
So my question is, how can you curb carjacking? Because nothing is working here.
yeah. As I mentioned, one of the things I would use is the dash cams. Let me give you a story though, because for about a month now, 3 weeks to a month, I was at one of the gas stations asking one of the owners for support. Get out of the car. I see these young men looking over at my car, and then they were talking. They had the mask on, and I go into the store, and my assistant with me, I tell her, I said, maybe we should stay a little bit longer. Maybe they'll leave because I'm thinking they're going to carjack us. Come out the store. They didn't leave. They were still standing there waiting. When they saw us walking up, the one young man gets out the car, comes toward me, and reaches in his pocket. Fortunately, I am concealed carry. So when I saw him reach in his pocket, I pulled mine out first. He turns around, gets back in the car, and they pulled off real fast. The thing that scared me the most is that one of the young boys had his mask down just for a few seconds, and he looked like he was about 9 or 10 years old. And this is what's happening in our communities. And so we need solutions to curb the carjacking, to make sure that our children are not involved in those things, and when they are, like the 9, 10 year old, or any other two young men, that their parents are being held responsible too. I raised my children. There was never a time I didn't know what my children were at any time. So, I think the Parent Responsibility Act is important to make sure that parents get some kind of training on their children because these things are out of hand. And let me also say that YouTube is also teaching our children how to carjack, how to steal parts off cars, the Kia, how to steal a Kia car. YouTube is teaching you these things. So,
But here's the thing, though, and sorry to interrupt. It goes back to the question
go
I
ahead.
asked you a couple moments ago regarding what type of legislation
Oh, mhm.
that you will implement to prevent, even though I said prevent children as targets, but now I'm going to address it again to prevent carjacking or to prevent crime as a whole. In order to curb it, you can put some type of ordinance together. You can put some type of, something together to kind of like have monetization of YouTube and kind of like bar it from being seen on the public.
Mhm. And that's why I brought that up about the YouTube is because that would be one of the things that we would definitely have to, like you say, monitor YouTube and any other social media site to make sure that they're not teaching how to steal a car, how to make a bomb, and things like that.
But
So there would
but
be.
it goes further than that, sir. And sorry to interrupt again. The gaming, like Auto, Grand Theft Auto, and those.
Uh,
Why we're not putting a ban on Grand Theft Auto and some of these video games that these as young as 5 are playing,
yeah,
and we're not doing anything about it.
yeah. I'm in total agreement with you that there needs to be legislation to curb that. And that those are some of the things we would certainly look at is putting together legislation to look at the things that encourages our children to commit certain types of crimes. And you mentioned Grand Theft Auto. That's one of the biggest ones.
Some people believe that the police department is not doing their job. Some are saying because of the January 1st Safety Act give criminals a license to purge. As alderman, how can you make the police department in your district have effective patrolling in the streets in your district so they can be effective in patrolling? You mentioned drones, and I know police can't be everywhere. But the problem is that with the Safety Act, senior citizens are really pretty much scared.
Yeah, yeah. Me too, not just the seniors. So I work with block clubs, and I've been trying. And I work with the police in the block clubs, and so we've been trying to get the police and the block clubs to work closer together to at least for those blocks that we have block clubs on to work closely together to look for things that are conducive to crime. And so, for example, I'll walk the block with block clubs. We look for things that conducive, like certain lights out, abandoned houses, abandoned car on the block, and we go through the alley looking for things like that as well to help reduce some of those things. Police the police is the police shows up when a crime has already been committed. So I want to look for things that are more that would prevent crime, closer to looking at things that will stop crime from happening in the first place. And that's why I think block clubs are important, because block clubs will also know who's on the block, who's a problem, and they can keep an eye out for those things as well. Or block clubs could also intervene with certain young men, young ladies on the block because they know them, and so they can work with those young folks.
So you're saying basically that the police department needs to be proactive instead of reactive?
No, I'm saying when I talk to the police, I talk to the when I talk to the police, the heads of the police, they're telling me that the police are short. For example, the sixth district has 200 police officers, and you split that between three shifts, and in the district that they have, how big it is, there's no way that they're going to be able to prevent crime. So the police are running around to crime. You know, I think I'll go back to, I think the drones are very important, that the police had that, something like that, as a tool in their back pocket.
The Chicago Police Department doesn't reflect the demographics of the city of Chicago
Not at all.
regarding blacks. As alderman, what kind of program or plan can you implement so the police department can reflect the black community?
I participated in trying to get some young folks to join the police department. I mean, what I'm hearing from them, a lot of them don't want to join the police department because many think that the police are corrupt, that the police are targets, and they don't want to join because of that. So I think the culture of the police needs to be changed. I think it's the culture of the police needs to be changed, so that folks will feel comfortable with joining the police department. So I think I would definitely work on the culture of policing. But again, I hear what you're saying, and a lot of us don't like other folks from other cultures coming into our community and policing us. I think the police need to be more engaged with the community and not so much just showing up to crack somebody in the head. So we have done some things with the block clubs where the block clubs will welcome their beat cop, have some lemonade and some snacks for them, and then they'll get to meet the police. I think that relationship needs to be a lot tighter.
In 2016, there was a big number of African Americans that applied for becoming a police
Mhm.
officer. Unfortunately, they didn't get in, and it wasn't because of the drug testing. It wasn't because they didn't pass the test. They
No.
psychological. So you're saying that right now we have more Hispanics police officers if you look at the data.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
How come they bypass the African Americans and we're not doing anything, and the mayor is just there hasn't been any type of lawsuits or anything or no pressure from the FOP?
Hmm.
Your
Well,
thoughts?
I wouldn't suspect that the FOP uh, would give that kind of pressure to get more black cops in. I don't know. I think the Hispanics they're looking at the money. I mean, it's good money to be a police officer. Our communities, um, again, our children feel like they've been targeted for so long. The stop and frisk that they had at one time. Even now, the police are just unfairly policing us a lot harder. So our young folks don't want to be the police, at this time.
But do
And,
you
and let me say also, that there are probably some shenanigans going on too. There's not allowing our people to get into the police department too, because you just mentioned 2016 people applied, but they weren't getting in. And I know some of the young folks who applied, great young men, young ladies. and they didn't get the job.
But why there wasn't any action or lawsuits? That's the question I've been asking as I did some research on it. Why
Hmm.
nothing hasn't been done? And the Black Caucus and City Council said they looked at it and look into it. Nothing hasn't happened.
I'm not sure why the current alderman didn't didn't file a lawsuit or do anything about it. However, when I'm sitting in that in that seat, I would certainly make sure because we need more black officers. There's no question about it. And so whatever needs to happen, we need to make sure it happens by any means necessary.
The FOP doesn't have any black representation in its organization at all. You are a community leader. What kind of pressure needed for blacks to get effective representation inside the FOP?
I think the I don't think the FOP is going to do it on their own. I think that there needs to be some pressure for the FOP to get some representation. I attempted to have a meeting with the FOP, but I haven't gotten a response from the FOP in terms of sitting down and have a meeting about those issues.
Immigration is another issue plaguing Chicago residents. Breaking news: the budget in City Council allocated $5 million to migrants coming to Chicago. $5 million. At
Mhm.
least 2,000 plus immigrants in county were sent by bus from Texas to Florida. Some, if not majority, of blacks are mad because of the treatment of these immigrants are not getting the same type of treatment in comparison to Haitians last year. The
Mhm.
city of Chicago is rolling out the red carpet for these immigrants who are Hispanics, Venezuelans, Afghans, while black immigrants were sent back. As alderman, what will be your plan for fair treatment to all immigrants instead of certain ethnicities getting the red carpet treatment in the city of Chicago?
Well, first of all, and I want to make it clear that I want to make sure that we address the hundreds of years that we blacks here have have not received any support from the city, the state, or the federal government. So, though I think that needs to be addressed first. And I also, when blacks do come from other countries, Haiti, for example, uh, that we're treated the same, that we're treated with respect, and that it just boggles my mind how they find money all of a sudden. But when it's black people, I'm always faced with the answer that there's no money. But when other folks, like you said, want to come into our communities, or when other folks are immigrants are coming in, somehow we find money. Even we do, black people, find money for other folks, but we can't find money for our people. So that that what happened to the Haitians that really bothered me. Then when I see the red carpet, as you say, laid out for others, that really bothers me as well. So I don't have, because I'm not in that seat now, I can't, all I can say is that I would certainly push for us to be treated fairly and with respect.
And it goes to my next question. Many community organization and leaders are upset because of what the city of Chicago is doing, like I said before, rolling out the red carpets for immigrants by making sure they have housing and other amenities. However, homelessness in Chicago is at an all-time high. Tent cities are popping up under viaducts around the city. As alderman, what would you say to the mayor that you are providing housing for migrants? However, you're not. We have a homeless population problem in the city of Chicago, and people are losing their homes because of taxes, and you're not helping them.
You just said it. And those are things that needs, and not just to the mayor. but to city council members as well, because I think if we stuck together and we address this issue, then we have a better chance. But just leaving it up to one person, it ain't gonna happen.
The city of Chicago presented its budget today for 2023. Um, what would you like to see in the budget or fight for in the budget per se that's being voted on?
I just come from a local school council meeting, and one of the things I like to see is that our schools are treated. I don't want to use the word equitable, but brought up to a point where it needs to be, and then then we talk about equality at that time. But we're so far behind. Our children are so far behind, and we need to be caught up. So it needs to be it needs to be equitable. Um, and there's a ton of other issues that I would like to see. When I was a kid in high school, they had a program called CETA, and so we had little teenage jobs that we had that we were able to work not just in the summer but year round. I would like to see the city do some things with that. If you come in our community, our children don't have as much to do, and that's why they were going downtown, because it looks nice downtown. It is in other areas. That's why they go up north, because it looks nice. And we don't have those things in our community. And now they want to shut us out from going downtown or up north, our children. And so now they're in areas where there's little to do for them. So I would like to see more programs. I would like to see more of an effort put into our communities to bring more businesses in, particularly black businesses, indigenous businesses, other businesses as well. I'd like to see come into our community. So I would like to see some funding set aside for that, as well as some support for our homes. But I'd like to see our property values to continue to grow, because that's one of the ways that we can pass down wealth.
Please give intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station where they can get in contact with you, how they can get in contact with you, and um, actually your location of your office if they want to volunteer.
Yeah, our office is at 10510 South Halsted. And my phone number is 312-315-0652. Again, that's 312-315-0652. Folks are free to call me if they want to come out and volunteer. I'll certainly appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for being on the Drive at 5. Don't be a stranger, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll be back with the second half of the Drive at 5 right after this.